question that gets you almost on your last nerve. From the back seat, battling for every inch of real estate, with your seat hogging siblings, where seconds seem like days and hours like centuries, there's a cry that always rings out. I bet you know what it is. No. Are we there yet? Games are invented to mask the passing mile. Sometimes even a tape line is placed on the seat, vinyl seat, to mark off boundaries, stay on this side of it. Threats of, don't make me come back there, are uttered in every level of intensity. I wonder how many really cool moments, though, I missed simply because I couldn't stop in the mad dash to get to that final destination long enough to pay attention of the ongoing journey. I wonder how many memorable sights were overlooked because I was so focused on the final destination that I became weary of the journey. Oh, no, you want to take a nap. Jesus' journey to Easter, I think, sometimes is overlooked. The destination holds so much meaning, so much hope for us, that if we aren't careful, we won't slow down long enough to understand how did Jesus get there. We're tempted to pause and reflect on the road to Jesus through this series as we get to the empty tomb. What happened on Tuesday or Thursday before he was raised from the dead? Does it really matter? So in this series, we're walking this road together and see as we head into the Disneyland of our faith. Now, we reviewed Palm Sunday and the triumphant entry a couple weeks ago. And last week, we talked about the Monday where he cleansed the temple. Now Jesus, after spending the night with Mary, Martha, and Lazarus again, returns to the temple. And on the way, he looks and sees a fig tree, and he curses it. Oh my gosh, Jesus did that? Because it promised substance. It looked healthy. But you know what? It was producing no fruit. Word. Jesus does more than just inspect fruit. He expects fruit when we are in an environment that is conducive and conducive to fruit production. Then he went to the temple. And guess what? There were some religious leaders there, and I bet you can't guess this, but they confronted him. And there's a large chunk of time telling parable after parable, Jesus does, to highlight, expose, and call out their rejection of the Messiah. He finally has had enough and calls them vipers, and makes his way to the Mount of Olives, and he sits down. And he began talking to his disciples, and something interesting takes place here. Tuesday is the hands-out hope. We listened as Beth read what Jesus told his disciples. But after Jesus told his disciples what Beth read, he then said, it will seem like all hell has broken loose. Sun, moon, stars, sea in an uproar, and everyone all over the world in a panic. The wind knocked them out by the threat of doom. The powers that be quaking. And then they will see the Son of Man welcoming in grand style a glorious welcome. When all this happened, up on your feet, stand tall with your heads high. Help is on the way. When these things began to take place, stand up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. But be on guard. Don't let the sharp edges of your expectation get dulled by parties, drinking, shopping. Otherwise, that day is going to take you by complete surprise, spring on you suddenly like a trap. For it's going to come on everyone at once. So whatever you do, don't fall asleep at the wheel. Pray constantly that you will have the strength to make it through everything that's coming, so that you can end up at the feet of the Son of Man. Tuesday, that we're going to talk about, is an odd day on the road to Easter. There wasn't any parades. There wasn't any outbursts of anger other than to the tree, and I don't think he was real angry at it. No tables were thrown. He did, as I said, curse the tree, and he cursed religious leaders. But then he goes to the mountainside and has a conversation with his followers. And I want you to remember, Jesus is about 40 hours away from being betrayed by one of his people that he's sitting by. He's now 40 hours away from agonizing in prayer until the sweat bloods asks his Father, there's got to be another way. Think hard. But he's now 48 hours away from being arrested and being accused falsely, and him thrown in front of the high priest. Even Peter will deny him in his 48 hours. And in the face of all that, knowing what he was going to face, facing his worst days, facing separation from his closest friends, facing separation from his beloved mother, facing separation and rejection even from his heavenly Father, it's his worst days, and a switch takes place. In light of all that he is about to face, he switches his focus and looks ahead to your and my worst days. He describes what our worst days are going to look like and how we're going to feel. He said, as Ruth said, or Beth said, I'm sorry, nation fighting nation, ruler fighting ruler, men falling down dead, betrayal, powers that are going to be shaken, panic. Believers are going to be persecuted, hunted down, imprisoned, turned in, sometimes even by their own family. All hell breaking loose. Our worst day, our current days. And then he says, when you see all this, look up. Get your head up. Because perspective matters. Focus matters. Your gaze matters. Jesus is trying to teach us that we must keep our eyes and our heads up. He warns us that in the middle of all this, we must be careful or our hearts are going to be weighed down. He tells us that if our heads go down, our hope will soon follow. He teaches us that heavy hearts are resolved by when you lift your heads. He teaches us that the path to the cross has to be a journey through his cross. The disciples wanted help, but Jesus leads them to hope. And in the process, Jesus teaches us that there is no help if we don't have hope. Are you consumed and worried about what's happening around you, and you're not able to point anyone to hope? If all you can do in an effort to be overcome is be distracted by shopping and partying, then you can't help because your eyes are off of hope. So Jesus tells us we can't let the sharp edge of our expectation get dull. Are we to help people here now? Yes. But we must also have hope beyond what's currently happening. Why? Because Jesus knows that eventually help runs out. Pretty soon you run out of financial assistance. Money's going to run out. I can promise you healing, but healing gives way to other ailments. So rather than only giving us help in the middle of our days, he gives us hope. The help I can give you, he says, will not run out like your help does. Our greatest asset and our greatest gifts that we have is to share hope. We need to be surrounded by people who are so heavenly minded that they were no earthly good. They said, I'll fly away, because their escape anthem is that they don't have to deal with what's going on now. But Jesus knew this day would come. The day we live in is this day, that the pendulum has swung too far one way or the other. And those with the greatest promise seem to have ducked their heads. Those who should have the highest hope are now overcome by the outlook of the forecast that's on broadcast news. We've come to talk like there's no way out. Destruction's all around us. Sickness is rampant. Division is rampant. Disillusionment and disappointment are daily happening. But it's time to remember that our worst day only gives birth to our best day. Jesus looked beyond the cross and even beyond what we fixate on Easter and his resurrection. And he says, lift up your heart, lift up your heads, and remember that our hope is fixed on his grace. Our hope isn't fixed on president, Congress, a political party, economic system. Our hope isn't fixed on us. Our hope isn't fixed on our Constitution, even though I will fight for it. But my hope isn't fixed on it. Our hope isn't fixed on Israel. Our hope isn't fixed on remedies that man says we need to do. Why? Because if we attach our hope to those things, then our head will eventually go down. Our heart will go down. We'll be unable to provide anyone with help or hope. Our hope must be firmly fixed, and our gaze must be securely fastened to the heavens above, for the day when our King will greet us at the gate with healing in his wings and power in his hands. Worry is a symptom of no hope. Anxiety is a symptom of lack of awareness of his approach. He is coming. He will be there at the door for you, at the gate. So look up. Get your head up, your heart up, your eyes up, your hands up, your hope up. Because what's happening now isn't going to be the end. It may be a new beginning. Don't let the sharp edge of your expectation get dulled by everything that's going on. If we need an old song to sing, how about this? What have I to dread? What have I to fear? Leaning on the everlasting arms. I have blessed peace with my Lord so near, leaning on the everlasting arms. He is near. Get your head up. Get your heart up. Get your hope back. The psalmist says, lift up your heads. Lift them up, you ancient doors. The King of glory may come in if you open it. Why are we down in the dumps? Why are we crying the blues? Maybe because I haven't fixed my eyes on God. Hopefully soon I'll be praising again. And he'll put a smile on my face. Why? Because he is God. Yes, the days may seem dark. The ground beneath us is shifting sand. And yes, folks have lost their minds and what the heck they're doing. But the real question and the real issue today is this. Have you lost your hope? Because without hope, we can't help anyone else. Have hope. Thank you.
Yeah.